Welcome to the Cerebral Edge with strength and conditioning specialist, Coach Chris. Join us for the next 30 minutes as Coach Chris shares ways to improve your health in all areas of your life. Along with his special guests, he strives to give you that cerebral edge to help make you 1% better every day. Now, here's Coach Chris.
Hello, Colorado Springs. It's Coach Chris on Power Talk 1040. I'm just going to take a half hour here and hopefully give you the edge you need to be 1% better every day. Now, I like to do that with a little help from my friends, and today we have guest Dr. Grove Higgins back on. Doc is just an incredible chiropractor up at Neuroathlete Clinic. Has a whole staff there that's just dedicated to human movement and getting you back to the person that you need to be. Welcome back, Doc. What are we going to get into today?
Well, hopefully we're going to get into something kind of fun, but really important. At least I think so. In my years of working with people, I had to come to the conclusion that when people ask me, who's your ideal client? Because, hey, that's a common business question for any businessman. And I finally had to get to the comfortable with the idea that I work with a lot of dumpster fires. I get people that didn't just hurt their back last week. They hurt their back 10 years ago, and they're still having pain. They're having other things going on, or a brain injury and whatnot, and they're still just having problems. And they've gone to great people, to great practitioners, even gone to Mayo Clinic, and then they're coming to me going, "You're my last hope."
Right.
And what do we do about it? And so over the years, in analyzing all of my patients, one of the big things that I've come to is that all of my patients, all of them, even my non-dumpster fire guys, all have kind of the same problem. They all look alike at various altitudes, and I want to talk about that because there's a plague, a common plague, on not just the United States but the whole planet. And if we're not paying attention to it, it's an existential threat.
This is going to be the real pandemic, right?
No, most definitely. It's ongoing already. We're eyeball deep in it. Mm-hmm.
So before we get into that, though, how did you get into all physical medicine and all this stuff?
Yeah,
I want to kind of dive into that a minute.
Yeah, so way back when, I had a close family member. It was the day before classes began. I was 14 years old, and we're riding our bikes along, and she's going to be staying in middle school, and I'm moving on to high school, and she scrapes the back of my tire, falls over, hits her head on the ground. Mm-hmm. Well, this is back before the days of helmets and stuff like that. I mean, I grew up in the days before there was seatbelts in cars, at least mandatory use of them.
I was going to say, I remember in the back of my mom's Cougar just holding on to a roll bar.
Right. So, and you didn't think anything of it, right? But no. She hit her head, was in a coma for over a week. I had to learn how to walk and talk again over 30 days.
Wow.
And the doctor said, you might as well start thinking about institutionalizing her because she's probably never going to be above the level of a third grader. Well, I love it when doctors say that because that's when you get to prove them wrong. Mm-hmm. This person has 2 master's degrees and certificates from Harvard Business and is a fantastically successful person and great mother and all those types of things. Mm-hmm. And I get to see that all the time. But moving into that, that inspired me to get into medicine. Never even thought of it before that. Started working in a hospital in acute care physical therapy, working with brain injuries and strokes and amputees and such like that. And then got into the sports and performance and structure and biomechanics and soft tissue injury and such like that. Finally went and got my doctorate, and I haven't looked back since.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, everybody's got a story why they're in this business, right? Nobody ever just kind of stumbles into it, I feel. And are very successful anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. And especially if you are passionate about helping people and seeing people reach their ultimate potential or their optimal potential, that's what keeps you motivated in this business. Because, it can pay off revenue-wise, but when you get to see somebody reach those new heights and see what they can get out of their life, how their life can improve, that's what keeps it fueled.
That's awesome. And today we're talking about the coming plague, and I've got some notes on the coming plague here. Right? So basically what I'm looking at is pretty crazy.
Yeah. So here, let me give you the stats, right?
Yeah.
So I pulled these stats, and you can use these in your show notes and whatnot, and I'll publish them too. So this is right from the CDC website here. So from March 2nd of 2020 to August 2nd, 2022, there's a good reason why there were over a million in the United States, 1 million deaths, right? We all know that. And outside of that, there were 91 million cases of that COVID stuff, right? And it cost us trillions of dollars. Now, it didn't cost us trillions of dollars in just healthcare costs. There was a lot of other costs in there associated. But I want to put that in perspective here, all right? So you go to CDC numbers, 2021 numbers here, and you start to look at, what were the major killers in 2021. And this has been like this for decades now. Heart disease is number one. Cancer is number two. COVID's in there now, of course. But then, and unintentional injuries right under that. But then stroke, lower respiratory disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, liver disease, kidney disease, all that type of thing. And when you start to look at the numbers, so heart disease killed $219 billion, or cost $219 billion, right? That's a lot of money for treating about 700,000 people. So that's a lot of money per individual. Cancer, $208 billion. And then you get down to things like diabetes. And all of us know somebody with diabetes. It's about 1 in 10 people have been diagnosed with diabetes, and so that represents about it's close to 100,000 people a year get diagnosed. But let's see here, I actually have it right here. 37.3 million Americans are diagnosed with diabetes. That costs us every year $239 billion, and not to mention about 90 billion of lost productivity in the workforce, right?
And it's the less amount of people, but the more amount of money.
Right. And it's growing by 30% every 5 years, right? So up to 30% every 5 years. So it's overtaking us. This just on the diabetes side, it's overtaking us. Right, 63% of Americans are overweight, and over half of those are obese. Right, so that means they're all fat, sick, and dying. Right, and we're not doing a whole lot to fix that problem. The part that should get you angry, it gets me angry, because I've got family members that have gone through all of this stuff: heart disease, cancer, and died from cancer. My mom, my dad from cardiovascular disease and things like that. Is that when you look at it, it's totally preventable. Totally preventable.
And reversible.
And reversible, exactly.
Yeah.
But
except type 1. Type 2 is, but not type 1.
So there's this concept of proximal cause versus ultimate cause, right? So you come in to see me or any doctor, and you have heart disease, right? You've had a heart attack, right? Well, the most immediate problem is, okay, take care of the heart attack, but then what caused that heart attack? Well, I do blood tests on you, or your doctor does blood tests on you, and they see high cholesterol, they see high triglycerides, they see high blood pressure and everything. And there's a pill for everything. Oh, yeah. Literally, there's a pill for everything. And the doctor says, you need to eat better. Here's a pamphlet on how to eat the Mediterranean diet, stuff like that. Okay, great, good, and whatnot. But that's where it ends a lot of times, right? Maybe a little physical therapy in there too. But that's where it ends. But then no one's asking, why did this person get to this point? And they're all just going to blame, they're eating bad, they're not exercising, stuff like that. Okay, good, right. But we've known something for 40 plus years, and actually longer than that. But this doctor by the name of Joseph Kraft, he's now passed away. He passed away in his 90s. And he identified a problem. He studied over 30 years. He studied about 15,000 people and performed 3,000 autopsies on individuals, and found that that over 75% of those people that he studied, not just the autopsies, right, but the 15,000 people that he studied, that came in normal glucose, So glucose, blood sugar.
Yeah.
All right. So you go to your doctor. He sends you to go get blood work. You don't eat overnight. You get blood taken in the morning, and you have normal blood glucose.
Yeah.
75% of those people have insulin issues.
Right.
They're on the road to diabetes. 75. Mm-hmm. How many of those people even had a clue?
Probably none of them.
None of them.
Just took a snapshot.
None of them. Otherwise, they would have been diagnosed as a diabetic, right?
Right.
And that's not what happened. And so when you start to look at what underlies things like heart disease and cancer and stroke, it's all a metabolic issue. Mm-hmm. So that, again, going to proximal cause, you have a heart attack, let's take care of the high blood pressure, the triglycerides and such like that. But the ultimate cause, the thing that was the foundation of your disease is insulin and the fact that you've got too much glucose floating in your blood and it's damaging all the organs. Now, some people are going to get heart attack. Mm-hmm. Some people are going to have a stroke. Mm-hmm. Some people are going to have kidney issues. Some people will get diagnosed with diabetes.
Yeah.
Right? But that's just the fact that the ultimate cause came to the surface in that case. Thank goodness, right? Unfortunately, we could have solved that problem decades before when they're in their 20s, when they're in their 30s, and never had that happen. So there are people that you know and love, and maybe even yourself, that are suffering right now from the problems of high triglyceride and high blood pressure and other issues, cholesterol and other things like that are suffering from it right now, and you're not doing anything to fix that ultimate cause.
Right.
And people that have passed away, that have died, not knowing what was really killing them.
Yeah.
And it could have been fixed.
And cholesterol is one of those things that it goes high for a reason.
Right.
It doesn't just go high because you're eating eggs and bacon, which, is the biggest myth that's been out there for a long time.
Yeah.
It's high because there's an issue and I have to fix it.
Right.
That's ultimately what HDL and LDL do is they lay in places and go, I need to fix something.
Right. So here's where the numbers get scary, though, right? So we think about those. How many people got diagnosed with diabetes? 38 million people, right? Mm-hmm. So the population of the United States, 330 million people, right? Mm-hmm. So if 75%, by using Croft's numbers, and it's been validated over and over and over again, if 75% of people are going undiagnosed, that means that there's 247 million people walking around the United States that are going to become diabetic at one point or another.
That are well on their way.
Live long enough, it's going to happen, and you're suffering from the problems. So that's 7 times the number that's being reported by the CDC. And guess what? That's not costing us $237 billion a year in fixes. That's upwards of $2.2 trillion a year, right? Which is more existentially a threat, the last pandemic or the pandemic we're living in now?
No kidding. So my next question, these numbers are ridiculous, right? But what got you on the path to going, okay, this is an issue, right? Because you're a chiropractor, right? You deal with physical medicine. Obviously you have people come in, they're like, I'm diabetic, I have all this other stuff. What got you so on fire for the diabetic thing?
Yeah, so again, these poor individuals coming in, the dumpster fires I told you about before, and I had to figure out, why do they all look very similar? Why do they all have gut issues and fatigue issues, and some of them might know that they have overt hormone issues and testosterone and everything, but none of the therapies seem to work that great, right? They have hope, and then it falls away. And I'd been sending them out to get their testosterone fixed with their primary care doctor if that was a problem, right? Or to get on a better diet and such like that. And I had to back up a little bit and say, what is really going on here? And said, okay, there's a lot of inflammation going on in all of these people. And they often say that. I say, I feel inflamed.
Yeah, I feel inflamed. Yeah,
right?
I hear that all the time.
Or you hear it all the time. But I kind of discounted it because what does that feel like? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? I think I know now. But what does that look like? Well, what underpins, you look in the research, what underpins all inflammation? Metabolism. If metabolism isn't working well and the body is under crisis because it cannot process energy well, guess what? Those cells that are under crisis start to put out inflammation. So it isn't the inflammation that's the cause. it has an ultimate cause too. It's that metabolism.
So if everybody's saying something's wrong.
Exactly. So if everybody's coming in looking the same, my dumpster fire guys and my non-dumpster fire guys, and they're all looking the same at one level or another, I got to find that problem. That started me really questioning everything that I did and start saying, okay, I need to help people find that ultimate cause, fix that. And then when I started really looking at it, and I'm like, my mom died from it. My dad died from it. Mm-hmm. Everybody I know that's suffering from a chronic disease is dying from it. And it just gets you angry.
It gets you angry.
It's no one's fixing it. No one's really going after it.
Because it's preventable and fixable.
Right.
Well, all right. Let's take a quick break here because when I get back, I really want to get into how we do fix those issues. And we have really great info today. I think it's going to help us out. So we'll be back in just a minute. This is the Cerebral Edge with Coach Chris on Power Talk 1040. We are back on Power Talk 1040 KPPF. This is the Cerebral Edge, and I'm back with Dr. Grove Higgins. And right now we're talking about the new plague that's coming around, talking about diabetes, and what can we do to fix that, Doc?
Yeah, and I'd be a little bit more specific with the description. Diabetes is a diagnosis. It's metabolic syndrome.
Metabolic syndrome.
It's everything leading up to diabetes. Anybody that has metabolic syndrome at any level can and probably will become a diabetic at one time. But hey, real quickly here, we're getting into some pretty emotional territory and everything. And I've always thought of you as kind of a Joe Rogan-ish kind of guy, right? You got the bald look on going, you got the muscles going and everything. You just don't fight and punch people. Right. And you brought me a cigar today.
I did.
Yeah, you complete the experience for me.
The whole experience, right?
Right, so now I don't have to go on when he invites me.
Exactly, right? Next week you'll be on there, I'm sure.
Well, you never know,
never know.
As long as he provides me such a sweet-smelling cigar,
not too bad.
I might go, but
these aren't too bad. I mean, they're relatively not that expensive, right? Just out of the old cigar magazine, got them, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, I can't wait to try it.
Right on. So, going back on to the metabolic syndrome case. So when you're seeing a lot of these patients and things like that, what are you doing? How are you intervening?
So first of all, you have to know that you have a problem, right? And here's how you define what metabolically healthy is first, right? Because then you can identify if you're one of these people, and then we can talk about what to do about it, right? So, you get blood test. Is your fasting blood glucose below 100? So that's that first thing in the morning after you haven't eaten all night, 8 hours or more. Okay, so you get that done. Your A1C is below 5.7. So if it's above 5.7, you got a problem, right? And there's a lot of people that have got that. Your blood pressure is staying under 120 to 80. So you can get that checked just about anywhere. So easy one to check. Your triglycerides, so that's fat essentially floating around in your bloodstream, is under 150 milligrams per deciliter. Again, blood tests and such. HDL is up above 50 to 40 deciliters or milligrams per deciliter for men and women, and making sure that that's really high. And you're not taking any related medications to keep those things in check, right? So if you get your blood tested or you get your blood pressure tested and it's high and whatnot, you're already on the spectrum if any of those numbers are off. Okay, so that's the first thing. It also gives you some things to track and to target specifically, right? And also waist circumference. For men, it should be under 102 inches around or centimeters around, and women less than 88. So, unfortunately, a guy like you falls outside of that. Yeah. But you got muscle underneath, so it's not an absolute, right? So you got to talk to somebody that knows.
Got a six-pack in the fridge,
right? But that doesn't guarantee that you're part of the 12% of Americans that are actually healthy. 12% are the only healthy Americans of us. It's just crazy. So then what do you start to do about it? Well, part of the problem is that in medicine, we make things way too difficult. We make the solutions way too difficult. If it isn't a pill, then the solution's way too difficult. So if I tell you to eat the Mediterranean diet, you got to learn what a Mediterranean diet is. You got to change a lot of behaviors that you had before. It doesn't taste as good. Well, it can taste really good. But then you got to learn how to cook. You got to learn how to cook and just, you know how many Americans cook anymore? Very few, right? If it isn't coming out of a box with a scan code on it.
It's pretty easy to go through McDonald's nowadays.
Oh, yeah, totally. Right? So it's increasingly hard, and so doing the right thing can be hard. It doesn't need to be, though, right? So number one is reducing the amount of sugar in your diet, right? The one nutrient that your body doesn't need ever again to survive is more carbs, more sugar, right? So you don't need to eat bread, rice, pasta, any of those things.
Especially if you're not using it, right?
Especially if you're not using it. Your body creates it, right? Enough to keep your brain happy, because that's the only reason that your body produces it, is to keep your brain happy and healthy, right? Otherwise, your body learns how to survive on fat really, really, really well, right? So if you are cut back to 50 to 20 grams of sugar, that doesn't look like a whole lot. That's teaspoons in a day. Right? Your body will take over and you won't miss it. Well, okay, you might miss it because a lot of things taste good with sugar in it, right? But your body doesn't need any of it, right? So cutting back on that sugar and then learning to fast again. The body, because it can burn fat really, really well, very efficiently, and make it into sugar for your brain and everything like that, you can survive days without food. And once you get good at surviving, 8 hours, 16 hours without eating, and maybe even 24 hours, you can fast. And that's called intermittent fasting. So you fast for a certain amount of time and you eat for another part of the time. And I love to say it this way. You have a feasting window. I aim for the feast, right? So I have 8 hours that I like to feast between noon and 8 o'clock, and then I don't eat another thing there, right? And sometimes 4 hours, 20 and 4 hours. I fast for 20, but I'm feasting for those 4. And then what goes into your mouth is important. So no carbs, and then high fat, and decent protein, and man, you can make some things happen. Now, if you're an athlete, you're going to adjust those ratios a little bit, and you might need to eat a little bit more if you're pushing it really hard. But most of us don't train that hard, unfortunately.
And you probably will need those carbs, right?
Right, and then you might need extra carbs. But now the carbs are a tool.
They're a tool,
right? And they get you a result,
yes,
right? And they're not hurting you. It's not like...
And you don't feel bloated.
And you don't feel bloated. You have high energy all day long, and you just feel amazing. All of a sudden, your energy comes back, and everything gets easier.
I'm telling you what, Doc, I've been doing the 16-8 fast, and in the morning, I'm clear, right? My head's clear, and I get a lot done, right? And I get a lot more done than I used to. I used to get up and maybe have some oatmeal or something, but I'd notice in a couple hours, right, I'd kind of get tired, right? I'd kind of get the drains. But then when I wait till 12 o'clock and then eat, I feel like I'm ready to go work out. And I'm like, good.
Yes.
And that's normally my first workout window is at 12 o'clock. So I'll eat something at 12 and then maybe 12:30. I'll hit the gym. And man, the energy I get from my food doing that fast is insane to me.
And you've probably found that your productivity during your work day actually it got better too, yeah?
And I can walk by a box of donuts and not crave it. Right. Because before I would also have that maybe I better have that just a little bit, right? It'll be all right just to have a little bit. Yeah. But since doing that, I can just be like, nah. Or if I really want it, I'll have it. But most of the time I can just walk by anything like that, any pastry, and just be like, I don't really crave it, right? Like I used to.
Yeah, and again, it goes down to that willpower thing. For so many people, they think that they need to have willpower. No, you got to condition the system a little bit, and once it's conditioned, everything's easy. So avoiding the donut is easy. Yeah, getting to the gym is easy. Getting crap done is easy.
Well, you want to go. You get pulled to it because you have the energy.
You have the energy and you want to be there. Yeah. I just, a few weeks ago, I did a 12-mile hike with my dog around Mount Herman, which is close by here. And I was 24 hours fasted going in. I crushed it, felt great. And then later that day, after seeing a couple patients in the early afternoon on a Saturday, it was a weird day for that, but I had to do it. They were out of town. Went home, had an awesome meal. Every bite is like heaven.
Right, yeah, it's really good.
And I was ready to do it again.
Ready to start all over again
Yeah.
and be like, hey. And then also my sleep, right? When I cut my food off about 7:30, then I go to sleep like at 9:30, 10 o'clock. My sleep seems to be much better too because
Yeah.
I'm not digesting food while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, no, most definitely. So really the keys for me are low carb, intermittent fasting, and then most of us, if we're really realistic about it, are broken enough where we have to do something that's hypoallergenic. So we're cutting back on the number of foods. So that way we're not confusing the system with things that we're potentially sensitive to. And that way we can get that inflammation down, fix the metabolism, and then rebuild. And then you can get away with eating stuff, but now you'll have the willpower that you thought you didn't have
Right.
to control it and have the one donut or the one donut whole, right? The best part of the donut in some people's cases is the whole, right?
Yeah.
Not the thing that you ate out of the middle, but the fact that it's there, right?
Right.
No, enjoy it because you can do it and it doesn't kill you anymore.
Right. And you don't get that bloated feeling, all that stuff. Well, thanks for having you back. You know, I brought the cigar so I could tease you to come back one more time, right? So
Oh, well, you keep doing this. I'll come back anytime between the bacon and the cigar,
the
dude.
cigar, man.
Oh.
What more do you need, Doc?
That's right.
Anyway.
That's right. You don't need to pay me anymore. This is it.
How do people get a hold of you and get fixed?
Yeah, definitely. So online, you can find us at neuroathletechiro.com or online, you can find us at Neuroathlete Clinic on Facebook and Instagram and places like that. Or you can call us directly at 719-225-4949. I do free consultations virtually or in person because sometimes just asking some questions to find out what needs to happen next is an easy thing to do. So I love doing that with people and getting the ball rolling for them. Sometimes that means I can help you. Other times it means putting you on the right track. And that makes me feel really good.
And they have all kinds of different modalities there. They have infrared therapy. They have the Vasper. They have all kinds of cool tools and techniques to get you
and
better.
We got awesome training, as you
Awesome
know.
exercise therapy.
Getting people strong and fit and mobile.
Absolutely. Strong, fit, mobile. And as always, you can reach me at cerebraledgeperformance.com. Or if you have questions for the show, you just type in cerebraledge1. That's the number 1 at gmail.com and email me your questions. But I'm so glad you joined me here today on the Cerebral Edge. I hope you'll join me next weekend as well, right here on Power Talk 1040. I have another great guest with more insight on how we can all achieve that Cerebral Edge goal of making you 1% better every day. I'm Coach Chris. He's Dr. Higgins.
Howdy.
Until next time, stay strong.
This has been the Cerebral Edge on KPPF. Have a question for Coach Chris? Email him at cerebraledge1@gmail.com. That's Cerebral Edge, the number 1 at gmail.com. Join us next Saturday at 1 p.m. and Sunday at 10:30 a.m. for another episode of the Cerebral Edge with Coach Chris on Power Talk 1040 KPPF.